Hey, this is Noah. I just recently bought a new capture card for my computer. For years I was using one of those external ones, but I finally got an internal one. So, with that in mind, I thought I would take advantage today and showcase to you a game in a new way. As many of you may already know, I'm a big fan of the Yakuza games. But something I'd like to put in perspective is that what makes Yakuza Yakuza? At the core of it, Yakuza is a beat-em-up game with RPG elements presented in a 3D, open-ended environment. Sometimes in the Yakuza games, there will be extended fight sections that might happen at the end of a chapter where it ends with a boss. And this is often more indicative of the beat-em-up origins, like in Streets of Rage, where it's level-based and linear. Aside from that is the side content and the storytelling, and the tones of the game, where it can go from very serious to very lighthearted in a very short amount of time. But there is a number of games out there that are also, in some ways, very similar to it, 3D beat-em-up RPGs. I would actually argue that a lot of the more recent Final Fantasy games, 15 and the remake of 7, actually follow this format because, at the end of the day, they're RPGs that are borderline beat-em-up games. Ironic, considering Yakuza 7, Yakuza Like a Dragon, is an RPG, and for the foreseeable future, will be so. What if I told you that there was a game that is actually very similar to Yakuza's gameplay format that came out in the 80s? If you never played this game before, you might not know what I'm talking about, but if you have, and you didn't think about it, I hope it starts to, click, and you go, you've probably heard of it, River City Ransom. River City Ransom is a game that I discovered while researching games that were similar to Yakuza. And if you never played this, let me introduce this to you. It's a beat-em-up game with open-ended exploration with RPG elements. So like any other beat-em-up game, you can do whatever you want. Beat the crap out of people, very fine. But you collect money. You want to pick up money because it affords you the ability to buy upgrades, items, and heal, which the idea of using this money as a potential XP source may sound familiar, as it is almost identical to how Yakuza 0 presents itself. So, just like Yakuza, there are stores that you can visit. The game doesn't always tell you what things do, but you can buy things to heal yourself. One of the more evocative things is there's a bookstore, and the bookstore here will actually teach you new moves. Now, I don't quite have enough, so I'm going to go beat somebody up and hopefully get enough money for this. I'm going to go with Dragon Feet. I believe Stone Hands and Dragon Feet are basically the same move, and what it's primarily doing is upgrading your basic punch or kick. Or perhaps I have to use the item first. Yeah, okay. So you have to use it first. Little confusing. Yeah, so it gives you this triple hit thing with one button press. I believe I remember seeing speedrunners will specifically get the kick one because it's better for poking. You get more range. One of the other comparisons that I personally find with this game to Yakuza is that the protagonist, Kunio-kun, looks very similar to Kiryu. Kiryu has a very distinct look for having a white suit with a red undershirt. You would have me hard-pressed to believe that there wasn't some deliberation with making Kiryu look very similar to Kunio-kun, because this is a very well-known franchise, especially in Japan. Furthermore, and this is a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to say it anyway, the plot is also very similar. It's very basic in the form of oh, the other gang has kidnapped my girl, so I gotta go save her. The plot of the original Yakuza, albeit obscured because of its complexity, is also, at the end of the day, we gotta go save the girl. The only thing that really sets this apart from Yakuza is that with Yakuza, typically when you get into battle with enemies, it closes you off in an arena with the enemies. And this also is very similar to how turn-based RPGs are presented, where you will engage into combat with the enemy in a separate instance before you return back to normal gameplay. In other beat-em-up games, this is a normal thing, where you will have to defeat all the enemies before you are able to progress to the remainder of the stage. But in River City Girls, a game that acts as a follow-up to this one, does have moments like that. Between this, River City Girls 0, and River City Girls 2, we have an accurate portrayal of the Yakuza formula, albeit in another timeline and presented in 2D. So, if you like Yakuza, River City Girls and the other River City games may be worthwhile to look into. While it may not have the wackiness of Yakuza and its particular brand of humor, it is a different package deal. Though it's worth mentioning that the River City Girls modern titles have some degrees of humor in them, kind of cornier than Yakuza.
No, you don't say the 2 part, but it says it right there. Let's try again.
Yakuza is a bit more absurd than River City, I would find. Interesting to see that somebody was pulling this at this time. Y'all are lucky I didn't bring up how Takeshi's Challenge is actually, again, very Yakuza-like. And instead, I'm just going to offer you River City Ransom. Let me know down in the comments below if you have ever played this game, or if me telling you about this game has influenced you to at least give it a look. This is Noah. River City Ransom. See ya.